Thanks for listening to the Clive Barker Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to the imagination of Clive Barker. In this episode 195, Jose and I go over the news from the Reef. What does Tony Todd think of the Candyman remake rumor? There's a new art exhibition, and Dark Ditties 1 and 2 are available to watch. Welcome again. This is episode 195 of the Clive Barker Podcast. This is a news episode. And I'm Ryan.
Yeah, and I'm Joe, and here's some news from the Reef.
Yeah. So there are Hellraiser and Hellbound screenings, and as of this is a little bit of old news, so we better check to make sure that these haven't gone by already.
Yeah, they're going to be done on October 14, so okay. I think we're still in time for that.
All right.
And this is Hellraiser Meets Hollywood, presented by Nostalgic Nebula by the Montalban Theater. So that's going to be at the Montalban, which is located at 1615 Vine Street, Los Angeles. Mm. And they're going to be screening Hellraiser 1 and 2, right?
Yeah. I wish that I had gotten to see Hellraiser on the big screen. I almost did.
Oh, but you never had a chance to watch it. I mean, you've seen the screenings of it, right, in the theater?
Of Hellraiser?
Yeah. Mm-mm. Oh, you've never had the chance to watch it like that? Oh, that's really.
No.
Yeah.
I had a chance, but I was thwarted by a duck.
That's right, in Texas at the Frightmare weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. Like I said before in some episodes, we used to have this festival in Porto in Portugal, which was called Fantas Porto, which was a fantastic film festival. So every year there would be one night during the festival where eventually they would always screen either Hellraiser 1 or Hellraiser 1 and 2. And I used to attend those, even though it was kind of an old copy. This was back in the 90s, and the copy still looks kind of old, and it was kind of scratchy, but it was fun. And one or two times, Doug Bradley was there. They would fly him over just to hang around and sign some stuff and talk a little bit before. That's where I found out that his first scene as Pinhead was the one where he walks in and says, "We want the man who did this." And how he had a hard time finding his mark. So they had a board on the floor so he could walk, and then his feet would touch the board, and he knows that's the place where he had to stop and say the line so he wouldn't get out of the frame. So it's great. I mean, it's a fun thing to watch it on a big screen. I hope you get to have that chance someday.
Yeah, that would be cool. And and Rob did a news story about I think this was just about the rights for Hellraiser, right? That they that Miramax CEO says new Scream and Hellraiser movies a possibility. So that's really kind of what the whole news is built on, is just that Miramax has not given up on Hellraiser or sold it off to anyone at this point.
Sure. That was always a possibility. I mean, they just made a movie like a couple of years ago that was Judgment, right? So it's still there, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I think amidst the Weinstein controversy, it wasn't clear what they were going to sell off, and
I don't know what to say about Hellraiser anymore. It's just I'm just kind of tired. But I enjoy the last one, but. Had its flaws, of course. But it would be nice to see something come forward at some point in the future. But I don't know if Hellraiser isn't a little burned out at the moment, even though I say this. But here we are talking about screenings that are happening in Los Angeles for Hellraiser and stuff coming out, and, news still very much in the popular, popular news coming out about Hellraiser. So who knows? Maybe there's still an audience out there, and I guess they'll eventually make something. So we'll see.
It would be nice if there was kind of an interest in making it good instead of throwing something out there
right
to hang on to the rights.
Right. I agree. For that, they need money, and I don't know if Miramax is in a good position right now to invest in anything like that. They need to come up with a few good movies, even if they're not Hellraiser. They need to come up with some couple of hits before they can actually start investing into other projects like that. So
Yeah.
guess we'll have to see. I just want to go back to that screening at the Montalban and say that it's not just going to be the movies being screened. There's going to be more important stuff happening. So they'll screen Hellraiser 1, and then there'll be a live interview with Christopher Young, who was the composer for the Hellraiser music for 1 and 2. And then there's going to be a live stage performance by the Atlantic String Ensemble. They're going to perform on stage some music along with the Hellraiser fan art slideshow. So I wonder what sort of fan art they're going to put there. I wish I knew. And then they're going to break for dinner. There's going to be a rooftop screening of Hellraiser 2. That sounds awesome.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, especially in LA, right? It's got to be warm there. And then the Atlantic String Ensemble is going to perform another overture prior to the screening of Hellraiser 2 at 7 p.m. And finally, Christopher Young is going to introduce Hellraiser 2, and the screening will start at 8 p.m.
Oh, my God.
So this is all on October 14. I wish I could go there.
Yes, that sounds
and tickets,
awesome.
Yeah, and tickets vary between $13 and $64, depending on, if you want to watch the all-day pass or just the 1 or just the 2. So, that's something to look forward to. If you're in California, if you're in Southern California, I wouldn't miss this for the world. I mean, this sounds like a great opportunity to go there and experience Hellraiser like you've never experienced it before.
Wow. Yeah, and we have a Hellraiser. We have a Clive Barker art exhibition put on by Russell Charrington coming up soon. It's a solo exhibition, and he's got the painting hybrid as kind of the centerpiece.
Yeah, that's going to be the name of the exhibition as well. It's going to be Clive Barker Hybrid, and it's going to take place October 27th through the November 7th at the Anvil Gallery on 11 Old Blacksmith's Yard, Sadler Gate, Derby. So in England, it's going to be from the press release. It says here that this is only the second solo show in the United Kingdom, the solo Clive Barker show. So, yeah, I guess all of this stuff comes from Russell Charrington's collection, and that's quite a collection indeed, huh?
Yeah, and I imagine there will be stuff for sale there. So, if you're in the UK, it would be a thing not to miss if you're interested in Clive Barker's art.
Of course, and it has several pieces that are going to range from just ink on paper to actually big canvases by Clive Barker. So that's, if you know Clive Barker's canvas work, it comes with some fantastic artwork and some amazing topography, because he just cakes all that paint in there, and he makes pretty liberal use of the canvas knife here and there. So check it out. I know it's going to be in Derby, so maybe a little far from the big cities, but I'm going to get Derby people yell at me now for saying that. Like, hey, Derby's a fine city. You guys are just making it seem like it's small. But yeah, go there, check it out, and tell them the Clive Barker podcast sent you.
Yeah. And Tony Todd weighed in. Well, last news episode we talked about this rumor that came back again that Jordan Peele was interested in making a Candyman remake. So on Twitter, Tony Todd responded to that rumor.
He said he was okay with it, and it's exciting, and that he would probably, if it goes through, he will definitely try to be a part of it. So, yeah, I mean, I understand his position. Obviously, it's like, hey, who doesn't want Candyman to come back? I mean, I want Candyman back. I honestly, at this point, don't really care too much whether or not it's going to be a remake or a soft reboot. I would like to see a reimagining of Candyman, a more faithful one to the story.
Yeah.
Because I know some people out there may be a little confused on that, and maybe they think that the actual image that they know of Candyman with Tony Todd is the one that Clive Barker created. But that was not really like what the Books of Blood story was like. Right? So it was never like a it wasn't a slave who painted like the daughter of a plantation owner, all that stuff. That's not in the story. So that was stuff that was made up for the Bernard Rose movies.
Yeah.
And the actual story is about a rumor come to life, a rumor really taking physical form because enough people believed in it, and their willpower made it come true. So I don't know. It depends on how that would be done. But Jordan Peele would be an amazing, producer for this. So I would love to see that become a reality.
I still haven't seen Get Out yet, so I've heard that it's good.
Yeah. That's a good recommendation there for people who are not familiar with Jordan Peele. You can watch his comedy work as well, with Key and Peele. Mm-hmm. So that show is pretty funny as well. It was a favorite of mine. So check that out.
And also, just kind of a reminder, Candyman, you can pre-order it, the new 2K Blu-ray, 2K transfer Blu-ray. You can pre-order it from Shout Factory now, and it'll ship on November 20th.
Yeah, at a good price, right? I think it's at $34.93 right now.
Yeah, I need to do that. I think it would be, I think it would be good for us to kind of revisit Candyman and talk about that edition.
Yeah, in HD. And it's a funny thing. I'm looking at the Shout Factory website right now, and it has the deluxe limited edition. Like you said, it's going to come out November 20. And it says here, list price $34.93, and that's scratched up. And then underneath that, it says $34.93. So it's like, which one is it? Why do you scratch that? I know it's a pre-order, but it should be a little lower than that. So I just thought that was funny.
If you order it now, you'll get it at the special low price of $34.93.
Right. But hey, special offer is that you order from shoutfactory.com, you get the exclusive 18-inch by 24-inch rolled poster with the new artwork that they're using for the cover, and a second exclusive 18 by 24 rolled poster featuring the alternative new artwork, and also the slipcover with the alternative new artwork. That's limited to the first 2,000 pre-orders, and you get it shipped 2 weeks early. So that's always good.
Yeah. Yeah, and Candyman never really had a decent Blu-ray release. It had a Canadian one that wasn't very good.
Yeah.
So that'll be nice.
It definitely will. And it's going to have a new audio commentary with Bernard Rose and Tony Todd, and also another audio commentary. The authors Stephen Jones and Kim Newman, and of course the audio commentary with the director and the author Clive Barker, the producer and actors Tony Todd and Virginia Madsen and Casey Lemons, and or Lemons. I guess I read that wrong. And then you have another audio commentary with Bernard Rose, moderated by the Movie Crypts, Adam Green, and Joe Lynch. And then of course there's a second disc with a bunch of stuff too. But you can go to their website and see what exactly you get out of this Blu-ray edition. So something for us to pre-order, I guess. Have you pre-ordered yet, Ryan?
No, I need to do that.
I know. You're in the middle of moving house, so that's always a big time suck.
I've got only 2 days of internet left at this house, and then I've got to have everything over there.
I see. As a recommendation, I'm just looking at the sidebar here at the Shout Factory website, and I see that they also have a Blu-ray for Sleepwalkers. So that's they got collector's edition by for $28.43. That seems like a good price.
That's cool artwork they have on the cover of that one.
Yeah,
it's got the main guy with his like melted face on there, and the cat is leaping out of this explosion.
Did we do a commentary track for that?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay,
what was the name of that cat?
I forgot completely.
I can't remember either. Clovis, right?
Clovis. Yeah, that's
Get the bad guy, Clovis.
There's pictures with Stephen King holding the cat, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Boy, that would have been. I mean, they probably literally had a guy whose job was herding cats on that set.
Cat wrangler.
Yeah.
So, a cool thing also that Dark Ditties by Dead Mouse Productions 1 and 2 are now on Amazon Prime. So the first one was called The Offer. We've talked about that in the show, and it had all those fantastic cast of actors there, like Nicholas Vince, Barbie Wilde, Simon Bamford, yes, Oliver Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those people are in The Offer, the first episode. And then the second one, we got a little sneak peek of that when we were in Texas Frightmare Weekend, right?
On Simon Bamford's phone, he showed us a little bit of it.
Yeah, Mrs. Wiltshire.
Mm-hmm.
So that's episode 2, and I know for sure that there's a couple more that they're like post-producing right now. So yeah, it's a good if you got Amazon Prime, you can go to Amazon Video and watch Dark Ditties 1 and 2 now. So
and when Danny first sent us the link, I wasn't sure that it was on the U.S. Amazon, but I went over and checked that night, and it's in the U.S. also as well as England. So.
Right. I added a link so we can put it on the show notes.
Yeah.
So big recommendation for me for The Offer. I haven't seen Mrs. Wiltshire yet, but I have to watch that one soon. So
yeah. So Lori is gonna be kicking down our doors if we don't.
Oh yeah. For Simon Bamford fans, shout out to Lori.
I think she's probably watched it several times.
Oh yeah. Just like we've watched Hellraiser like several times a year.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but the first episode 1 had it was kind of a huge cast reunion for Hellbound. It also had
Ken Cranham.
Ken Cranham, yeah. And of course Danny Stewart, friend of the show, he played the Gimp.
Yes. Look, Din Din. That's an awesome scene. You guys got to watch it to know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's a fun scene. So what else is up?
Well, I wanted to thank everybody that's agreed to help us. Last episode, we put out kind of a call to action to help us with transcribing interviews for our book because it's an overwhelming task. And we had some people volunteer to help us. So you and I are working on them, of course, and also Marcus Williams, who's a contributor to the site, and he was on our last episode. Rob Ridenauer he's done a ton, actually. Thanks a lot, Rob, because he's gotten more done than any of us. Elena DeGarmo is working on one. Ray Pendleton and Michael J. Sullivan. So thank you, you guys. We can't do this without you, and that goes for the whole podcast. Without our listeners and stuff, I guess we'd be just doing this for ourselves.
Yeah, it'd just be like me having a conversation with you, and
we'd just be talking
which is
on
nice.
the phone or something.
Yeah, which is fun anyway. So, and on the site, you mentioned Danny Stewart, who was in The Offer. We have an article about Danny's Hellraiser 3 commission posters that he's been doing with Mad Matt Design. So, Rob made an article called Danny's Dark Wonders and Black Miracles, which I think that's a really good title, Rob. I really love the title that you made for this. So, he's been really fascinated with Hellraiser 3 and 4, and especially 3. So he's been commissioning all these posters for Hellraiser 3. And he wants to make posters for all the cast members. So he had one with J.P. Monroe. It's really good. There's a J.P. Monroe on one side, and then Camera Head or Piston Cenobite or JP or whatever you want to call him on the other side. And we've been getting updates from these posters all the time, and it's really, really amazing the work that he's been doing with not just Mad Matt Design, but also with John Floyd, who did the storyboards for Hellraiser 3. So that's the guy who did this one for J.P. Monroe.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see what he finally does with all of these posters. I mean, he had talked about originally he was thinking of doing a documentary about Hellraiser 3, and then he said, well, maybe it's going to be a book. But he's been focusing a lot on posters, which are they're really cool looking. But yeah, it'd be nice to see what the final output is for this.
Of course. Yeah. So thank you for sending this to us and keeping us in the loop, Danny.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And so coming up soon on the show, next week we'll have a discussion on the play previously unreleased Hunters in the Snow that you can get from the Clive Barker archive from Phil and Sarah Stokes. They've put this together, 1973 play by Clive Barker. The only musical play, I believe.
Right. I've been reading that, and I've been having a great time with it. And I purchased the Crazy Face and Hunters in the Snow.
Yeah.
And we will get to that next week. But I just want to mention again how lovely these little books are. The play scripts. They're like what I wanted to say about them is that they're really beautiful books. I have to say these play script books look like they were made to be bought by the dozen and get strewn across a table surrounded by actors producing a play. It's really kind of a minimalist design, but they're just these little chapbooks, and they got the right size to be in your hand and be read while you're like on your lunch break or something. So amazing stuff with a great memory at the end. So it's very densely packed at the end. It's a very short essay by Phil and Sarah, but very densely packed memory, full of information. It takes us back to the time when, like you said, this play was performed in April 9 and 16 of 1973, and then completely forgotten until now. Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that one. Of course, we'll be doing more news episodes. We'll talk about Clive Barker Dark Imaginer, which I believe is now available in paperback. So we'll be doing that and hopefully also talking to the author of that book.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, and then also Mr. B.Gone and Coldheart Canyon we'll hopefully be able to get to before the end of the year.
Right. Mr. B.Gone's going to be fun to get back to.
Yeah,
I remember when that book came out, I was so impressed by the work that they put into the book, where the pages are printed to be yellow.
Yeah.
So it looks like an old book.
Yeah.
And you can actually tell that it's printed because you see the little spots that are, they're made to look like old paper, but you see the spots in the same spot in every page. So it's the same background, but it works so well. It was a really nifty little book. I remember when it came out, and I got that book like a week before anybody else because Maureen, a friend of ours, went to a super pre-publication signing event, and so she got that like a week before it actually started being sold. And then she sent it to me signed by Clive. That was really awesome of her. Thank you, Maureen.
I didn't get to read it for like a month because I had to buy my copies at a bookstore in California and have them hold them for me until I got there at the signing.
Yeah.
So Clive's like, "How did you like the book?" I'll read it tonight after I get home.
Yeah. It's always awkward when you go to the signing before you read the book.
Yeah. Looking forward to that and Coldheart Canyon. And this podcast, having no beginning, will have no end. Find the show notes for this episode and join the discussion over at www.clivebarkercast.com, where we have news and links to all the ways you can connect with us. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and every other place you can find podcasts. The Clive Barker Podcast is an independent editorial podcast and news blog that is not affiliated with or under contract by Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans.
Thanks for listening.